Good morning, Anne. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. Both you and I are in Boulder, but separately on Zoom calls, as we have been for the last few months, dealing with our new realities. But I wanted to thank you for joining us to get a little bit of a feel for what you've been going through, both with Boulder Valley School District and what you think school districts across the country are going through right now as they deal with some of this emergency response feeding programs. So can you just start by telling us how's Boulder Valley School District and how is it operating its feeding program right now?
So we are actually giving out bags of food the week. The bags have 7 breakfasts and 7 lunches in them, and we're handing them out 2 days a week in 7 locations. And we're servicing about 35,000 to 40,000 meals a week.
Wow. And what's the major changes in the actual food you're serving?
Well, the majority of our food is raw ingredients. So pulses and whole intact grains, things like that. But we're also, most of our food is meant to be cooked, not already cooked. Fresh fruits and vegetables, sometimes bread, sometimes tortillas. But we gave out tamales the other day. So we're doing different things, but it's not pre-packaged meals.
So tell me, what's been the most challenging part for you in changing how you're feeding kids in your district right now? And then to follow that up, what have you been hearing is the most challenging thing for food service directors across the country?
Well, we spun this up, in 48 hours. I guess the challenges we're having is keeping everyone healthy and safe. That's probably the biggest challenge. So from day one, we had very, very, very strict protocols in place. From day one, we've had people in masks. We've been doing wellness checks. We've been taking temperatures. So we have not within our entire food service operation. We had a presumptive and it turned out to be negative, but we set up a system with 4 streams. So if a stream went down, we could keep serving. So I think becoming first responders and acting like first responders with PPE and all of that has been the biggest challenge, getting everyone on board with that and understanding it and, keeping the 6-foot rule and not getting close to our customers and all. So I think that's been the most challenging. As far as what other districts are doing, I think that's really different. I think it depends on the individual district. I think a lot of districts have tried to do, 5 breakfasts and 5 lunches, giving out 1 of each 5 days a week at all these locations. And I think most of them found that was not a sustainable model. I think that the problem is, or the challenge is that most people didn't have a plan in place for something like this and didn't have the resources to kind of figure out what a plan would be.
Yeah, that sounds about what I'm hearing too. It seems like it's all new for everyone. Well, as we I know here in Boulder, this is the last week of school for K-12 students. So as you start to look at next school year, I know you've been actively involved both with Colorado school food teams and trying to talk about this issue nationally. What do you see there? What do you see as some of the possibilities for school food programs for next school year?
Nothing very good. I think by and large, people are going to go to highly processed, individually packaged food. I think that's what most districts will do. So the CDC put out a new 60-page guidance document yesterday or the day before, and they're really, even with restaurants opening, they're talking about no buffets, which would mean no salad bars. And Boulder County is now talking about no self-serve anything. And so, again, salad bars, that would mean no bulk milk if we couldn't do self-service. Absolutely, they're talking about feeding kids in the classroom. There's really a strong recommendation not to have cafeterias open. So I think all of that, and it seems very clear that in many school districts, you won't have all the kids in school. That, you know, the classroom size will be 10 to 15, half the kids will have learning from home. So we're trying to figure out how you feed kids both in school and at home.
Right. So what are some of the, as this becomes not just a emergency response, as this becomes the reality for potentially a full school year, what are some of the things that you plan on doing, and that you could potentially provide guidance on to make the school food programs as healthy as possible?
You know, it's premature. I don't know. I mean, what I thought last week with the new guidance is different this week. We don't have variances for next year yet. All of the variances on how we feed and how we get reimbursed end on August 31st. So we're really at the mercy of the government. Like, what are they going to allow us to do? If we have some kids in school and some kids at home, SLP while they're in school and summer feeding when they're at home, what are we going to do for dinners for our schools that serve dinners? I mean, it's all up in the air. So we are considering some type of offer versus serve. We're talking about how to keep some types of fresh fruits and vegetables, but honestly, I'd like to see a variance on the colors, because if we have to do this type of programming and make sure that you have every color every week and all of that stuff, I think that will make it more difficult, especially if we're feeding kids in the classroom, because if you're not going to go to prepackaged overwrap and you are actually going to serve real food, then I think the priority has to just be serving real food and not worrying about all the other stuff, right? The biggest thing that could help people is if the government went to universal meals. I don't believe that will happen, but that would be the best thing, because if we didn't have to have cash registers going out in the hallways and trying to take down kids' numbers, I mean, there's a lot to try and figure out.
Yeah, and when you say universal meals, you're talking about universal free meals, and I think that so many food programs are suffering financially, and you're right, there is a lot of there is a lot of kind of admin work to dealing with all the different types of meals. So universal free meals, I think, would be benefit. Some areas, some cities have gone there, but you're correct. It doesn't look like nationally we're going to get there, but maybe some states will take the jump. So, based on what you're saying, the Chef Ann Foundation was founded on helping districts move to scratch cooking. Based on what you're saying for next school year, we're going to see a huge slide in that. The last 10 years, the Chef Ann Foundation has been around. We have worked with districts across the country to make huge strides in that. Why do you think it's important, or maybe you don't, for us to get back to scratch cooking eventually?
Well, I think scratch cooking is always better for all the reasons that we've supported over the last decade. You are in control of your ingredients, so you get to decide what kind of additives and chemicals and everything that's in the food. Scratch cooked food just tastes better. It's real food. It's, all the reasons scratch cooking is good. I do think there's going to be a huge slide, and I don't think it's for 1 year. I think we're going to see a 3-year downturn. And the reason I say that is because the money coming out of the government, they're going to backfill school districts for school year 21, and some school districts may have one-time money for school year 21. So school year 22 is really going to be the devastating year, and maybe into school year 23. So I think that this is going to be, I'm pessimistic about the short-term outlook, but I think in the long term, making sure we have fresh whole foods for kids, making sure food is cooked from scratch, all of those things I think are really important. But because of the lack of funding in most school districts, and because many food service departments have basically taken their fund balance down to zero already this year, that things like capital investment, in kitchens, I think we're going to see furloughs, and then how quickly can you, bring those people back. I think equipment budgets are going to get slashed. So I think the outlook is pretty bleak, for the next 24 months, but I think then we'll be able to turn it around. It's unfortunate because we've made so much progress in the last 8 years, but I think it's going to be a tough few years.
I agree. It's really hard, and I have a lot of people asking me, about the, um, the potentiality of a slide happening and us not getting back to scratch cooking, us moving, moving the entire school food reform progression backwards, and what can we do about it? And
I
from
have one answer for that.
what is it?
Vote.
That's a good answer, Ann.
I think the only way that we're going to not have it slide forever is vote in a new administration.
That's a good answer, and an administration that really sees nutrition as a key component in healthy children and achievement in school, as an important part of the school day. I really do agree with that. Well, the Chef Ann Foundation, with your help, is going to be guiding our partner districts over the course of the next 24 months to make the best choices that they can amidst these complicated circumstances. As we do with all of our districts, we kind of create action plans with them and try and create some operational guidance and planning for them to do to support fresh, whole ingredients in their program. So we're thankful to have you as part of that guidance team for these districts. And we know that it's going to be challenging, but I don't think we can take our eye off the ball completely. So even if there's, limited things that we're doing in our districts to look at long-term change, I think we have to continue to think about that, so that when we come out of this, all the work we've all done for the last 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, is not completely erased.
I agree. And so from that standpoint, what are the things that CAF is doing now that can help school districts?
Yeah, so we have a lot of what we're doing is we're taking this time to kind of work on programming that will come to life kind of after this period. So we're working on our fellowship program, which you're going to help lead us with, which is really exciting, where we're going to hopefully bring some school food fellows in and train them on scratch cook operations from our 5 key areas: food, finance, facilities, human resources, and marketing. We're also working on district technology assessments so that districts can assess themselves and help create paths to change themselves. I know I know you've had this idea for a long time. So, I'm excited to work with you on that too. But most of all, we have 4 Get Schools Cooking cohorts of, about 5 districts in each cohort. And they're all on kind of a 3-year plan to help create, scratch cooking in their schools. What we want to make sure we don't do is that we just don't kind of stop and not think about those plans for the next 24 months, and that we continue to work with them.
I think that it's going to be a really, really challenging 24 months for most school districts, maybe all school districts. And that's not just about food service. And because of the issues that school districts as a whole are going to have, I think that that's going to make the issues around food service even more important. And there's 40 million, as of today, there are 40 million unemployed people. That number is going to go up, not down. I think schools are going to be asked to step up to feed people in a lot of ways. I think school food is already the largest hunger relief organization in America. And I think that in many ways, I've been on a couple of calls today already talking about, how we can continue to support feeding not only the kids, but the family. How do we help school districts who have often been populated with undertrained staff and
Right.
undereducated staff. How do we grow them to be able to succeed in this new world? And I think that that's what we're looking at.
Well, and thanks for all your work here in Boulder. I know there are so many people that appreciate it, and thanks for your work with us nationally. You've seen a lot in your career. You probably haven't ever seen anything like this. So, yet you're going to take on another challenge, and we're so glad to have you in the industry and in the foundation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.